I was very much caught up in this like hustle mentality. And that led me, into a unhealthy relationship for about 11 years. The person who was supposed to be my safety, who was supposed to be my protector, my everything, pulled a gun on me and my sleeping 5-year-old at the time. And he held it 2 feet in front of my face. And he told me he was going to kill me. The healthy way to address the fear is, depending on the situation that you're in, is you might have to move forward with it. It's actually really healthy to do those hard things. And it's not but, it's and. We come back to that fear and really get to the root of, okay, what was I feeling? Masculine and feminine energy is not gender specific. We all embody both. So just as we have external polarized relationships within like romantic relationships or business relationships with our kids, we have an internal relationship with our own masculine and feminine. This is such a misconception, is that healing trauma doesn't have to be so heavy all the time. What is truth to you? What is congruent to you? What is aligned? And operate in that truth and be open with that truth no matter the consequence.
Well, welcome back to the show, everyone. Boy, do I have a queen in the house today, and she is going to teach us all how to become one. Taryn, Allie?
Yes. Yeah.
Ammar is here. Terrin is the founder of the Queen Collective and co-founder of masculineandfeminine.com with her husband, Henry Ammar, who I love so much and can't wait to get him on this podcast. She is a certified trauma-informed practitioner, accomplished business leader, and a global facilitator. She has spoken, facilitated, and led embodiment practices in front of crowds of over 1,000 people at festivals and events around the world, empowering countless individuals on their individual personal journeys. A survivor of abuse, Terrin has transformed her pain into power, drawing on her resilience as a former Division I basketball player and multiple 7-figure business professional, all while raising 2 daughters as a single mother for many years. Her mission is to inspire women to overcome their traumas, elevate their feminine confidence, and embody their inner queen, embracing their feminine energy and cultivating passionate, polarized relationships. Beyond the Queen Collective, Terrin and Henry launched masculineandfeminine.com, a platform that provides practical, scientifically backed, and trauma-informed tools to help people create deeper love, passion, and polarity within their relationships. Together, they are dedicated to fostering harmony and relationships through personal growth and healing. Despite the challenges she faced, Terrin has led multi-million-dollar sales teams, founded transformative wellness programs, and committed herself to understanding the impact of trauma on the masculine-feminine dynamic. Her passion for helping others rise is at the heart of her work. Above all her professional achievements, Terrin's greatest pride is her daughters, Peyton Allie and Joelle Madison, and finding love again with her husband, Henry Ammar. Terrin is on a mission to help women reclaim joy, passion, and fulfillment in their lives through the embrace of feminine energy and authentic self-expression. Terrin, welcome to the show.
Christy, thank you so much for having me.
I am the biggest fan, and I just have to say, you put so much amazing free content out on your social media. I think when I found you, I trolled for hours.
You're so kind. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. So I have to ask, I'm dying to know, how did you become this queen that I see before me? What is your story? Were you always this way?
Oh my goodness. No, not at all. But thank you so much for asking. But yeah, we all have our story, right? And just as I'm sure all of your listeners have and you have, but I grew up a farm girl. And so very much like we're going to talk about masculine feminine energy, but I was very much this little farm girl, little tomboy, wanted to be one of the boys. I always say I was the 1997 Fernley Junior rodeo queen. I used to rodeo. But, growing up in that environment is actually very much what I would say. There's a lot of emotional override. It's very much like, get back up on that horse, cowgirl, and, dust yourself off. And so I never really allowed myself to tap into who I was being and emotion and fear, allowing myself to feel fear. And I really derived a lot of my value from accomplishment and achievement. And that was where my value lied. I created this story in my head of, oh, if I accomplish this, then I'm going to be loved. Or if I achieve this and I win this game, or, I score this many points, because I also played Division I basketball. I was very much caught up in this like hustle mentality. And that led me, into a unhealthy relationship for about 11 years.
Mm.
And it was a relationship that at the end of it, the person who was supposed to be my safety, who was supposed to be my protector, my everything, pulled a gun on me and my sleeping 5-year-old at the time. And he held it 2 feet in front of my face. And he told me he was going to kill me.
Mm.
And, we're all fine now, obviously, we're thriving. But that really was like the moment that my life completely took a turn that led me into this beautiful work to discover who I was and to heal and really ask myself, like, what is the truth?
Mm.
Who am I being? Like, who do I desire to be? Who was I created to be? I definitely was not embodied in more of the energy that I am now. Before, I was very much in that hustle masculine mode, as most women are today.
Wow, we even more similarities. I grew up with all boys, one stoplight town in the
Yeah.
Midwest. And I still remember when I was in the second grade, it was like my mom put her foot down because I wasn't allowed to buy boys' shoes anymore for school.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, thank goodness she did, right? Thank goodness
Yeah.
she started to
Yeah.
push me in that direction. But you said a word that I've never heard before, but emotional override. That's
Yes.
really good.
Yeah, our upbringing and our background is
Yeah.
that emotional override, and tapping into trauma, and those who have really dove into it or do this work. And I love that it's becoming more of a topic now, is
Mhm.
trauma, or if that word is too much for people, we say overwhelming life experience or emotional experience. But when you find yourself feeling an emotion and it's no, I don't have time for that, like, we're just going to keep going, right? And so, for
Mm.
example, if I was going to play a basketball game, this is something that I realized, and I started to feel fear. I didn't allow myself to feel it because no, I have to have all the answers. I have to be confident. I have to be all these things. And that really was the story that I created for a very long time, that led into, even in my relationship that was abusive, it was, oh no, that's just how marriages are. No, that's just how men
Mm.
are. That's just, and so I would override, I would totally reject the intuition that I had within myself. That gut feeling that we as women, we get, and we're like, that's telling me something. No, I'm going to go this other way instead, right? Where it really is that emotional override of allowing ourselves to feel sadness, allowing ourselves to just feel in general can be really scary, and a lot of people are big feelers today, which I love. I never used to cry. And I think a lot of women probably relate to that, of like, we're not supposed to cry because
Mhm.
maybe at some point when we were little, when we were emotional and we were crying, our caretaker said something to us that we said, oh my gosh, if I cry, I'm going to lose connection and love from the person I crave it from most. So I better not feel that. I better not do that. I better not cry. And in reality, it's so healthy for us to be able to express and release that emotion. And now I cry all the time.
Yeah, I do
Especially with
too.
Henry. Henry loves tears. We both love tears. So we cry all the time. It's great.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually on a coaching call with one of my clients today, and she was crying, and she said, kept saying, I'm so sorry." And I said, "Oh, get it
Yeah.
out," because I used to suppress that too, and it just seems that so many people are emotionally constipated.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
We stuff it all down, and I'm like, listen, if I'm mad, I'm mad. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm sad,
Yeah.
I'm sad. You may see it all, but it should
Yeah.
be in the appropriate areas. But yeah, I love that you encourage that. So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit? Well, I mean, we're diving right into this, but can you talk a little bit about, like, how do you feel fear in those moments? How do you feel fear, but then continue to go too?
This is what's important, is that there is a healthy form of emotional override,
Yeah.
but the key is that you need to come back to revisit it. If anyone's heard of
Mm.
IFS or internal family systems or parts work or anything, that's a part of us that is feeling fear. That's a part of us that is scared. And, so for example, if there is a bear in front of me about to chase me, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, I feel really scared right now. So I'm just going to allow myself to feel fear. Like, we have to run away from the bear. And then we get to come back to revisit that part of ourselves. So the healthy way
Mm.
to address the fear is, depending on the situation that you're in, is you might have to move forward with it. It's actually really healthy to do those hard things. And it's not but, it's and we come back to that fear and really get to the root of, okay, what was I feeling? Maybe
Mm.
it's stepping on stage. There's like a real fear of being
Mm.
seen. Posting on social media. What is the root of that fear? And chunking it down and addressing that part of ourselves. So it's a healthy form of addressing that emotion.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that clarification. So, can we just start off and define? There's a lot of people defining masculine and feminine energy out there. Can
Yeah.
can you just start off and set the stage and define what feminine energy is and what masculine energy
Yes.
is?
Yeah, oh my goodness. How much time do we have? We have like 7 days and 5
Yeah,
hours,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm just gonna fly to Utah. Is that where you are
Yes,
now? I don't know where
let's
you.
do it. Yes, we're in Utah. Yeah, so I'll start with just saying that one, masculine and feminine energy it's not gender specific. We all embody both. It's not only men are masculine and only women are feminine. It's we all embody both of these energies within us. So just as we have external polarized relationships within like
Mhm,
romantic relationships or business relationships, relationships with our kids, we have an internal relationship with our own masculine and feminine.
mhm,
And so the masculine, if we were to start with one, and we'll go to the next one, but masculine energy, actually, I'll give you my analogy. This is my favorite analogy that I always give, which is a glass of water. And so
mhm,
the glass itself it represents the masculine. It's the structure, it's the safety, it's the certainty, and it's the container that holds the feminine. And the feminine is very free flowing and beautiful and magnificent, and it's chaotic. You see that water in the glass like about to spill out. That is the feminine, because the feminine is not only just being and receiving, it's also chaotic. The
mhm,
feminine is emotion, the feminine is rage, the feminine is expression, but it's still held in the safety of the glass. It's still
mhm,
held in the safety and the container of the masculine. So the masculine is very, you think of like a forward moving energy, right? It's point A to
mhm,
point B. Even think of the anatomy of the reproductive system of men and women. Men and masculine energy would be very straight, point A to point B. The feminine is more oval and circular shape. We live our life in cycles. What happens every single month, right? We
mhm,
live in cycles. It's fluid, it's flowing. We move through life in more ease. So there's structure and then there's flow. There's the doing, there's the being. And the feminine isn't
mhm.
just being and I'm just sitting here. As we talked before, it's who am I being?
Yeah.
Who am I being in the world? Who am
Mhm,
I being in my relationship? Who am I being in my purpose?
mhm.
And so that's a really high level, what I would say, kind of description of masculine and feminine energy.
Yes, thank you so much for describing that. So what happens when in today's world when you
Yeah.
have two parties, two people in the relationship, both parties are working. Both parties are achieving. They may not be focused on achieving, but they have to because
Yeah.
together they pay the bills. Or
Yeah.
together they both have desires. What
Hmm.
happens there?
I love this topic because, again, I seriously could talk about this all day long. It's so
Yeah.
great because it's true. Today's day and age,
It's different, right?
today,
Things
back in the
things are
day,
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
very
different.
clearly defined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was, quote unquote, society told us women stay home, men go out,
Mhm.
they provide. Where today, women, we provide, we make our own money. And
Mhm.
even background for me, I am a career woman. I am
Mhm.
actually an owner in an 8-figure business. I've created a
Wow.
7-figure business. I have the Queen Collective. I have a very strong masculine energy. And if Henry was on this podcast, he would totally describe me to you and tell you I have very strong masculine energy that he supports. He wants me to go and do my thing. He loves that I can go out into the world and do my thing and step into these boardrooms. And if I need to have more of that masculine doing energy, that's great. The one place I don't let it exist, though, is within my relationship.
Mm.
Because when I come home and my
Yeah.
husband, Henry, who is this amazingly loving masculine man, if I come home and I meet him in my masculine energy, then we do this. It's a
Mhm.
hunter versus a hunter. And a hunter does not go after a hunter. A hunter does not want to be intimate with a hunter. It's you want the hunter gatherer relationship to create that polarized connection, the positive, the negative connection,
Yep.
the opposing forces, right? So I give a lot of tools to women. I've even there's so many. To me, music speaks to me. The
Yep.
feminine is movement, and it's
Yep.
not how you look, but it's the feeling, right? So I'll play a specific playlist of songs
And that
on my
gets
way
you.
home so that
Yeah.
I can meet my husband in that playful feminine energy. We've even had like pink sticky notes that we put next to the door in the garage to where as they come home, they tap it. It's their anchor of like,
Yep.
I can breathe.
Yep.
I can be. I don't have to do. I don't have to go. I don't have to do all the hustle and have my mind a million miles an hour. That's one area of this dynamic because it's really the safety of the masculine allows the feminine to just soften. the one thing that we as women have a harder time providing ourselves with, because we can make our own money.
Yeah.
There's different forms of providership of the masculine. Obviously, there's financial, but if you make your own money, we don't need that technically.
Mm.
But what we do need is I need that emotional safety. I need that spiritual safety. I need the sexual safety. I need the mental safety. We need safety in all different aspects of life. And really that emotional safety that allows me just to, oh, everything's going to be okay. That's the safety that most women that I work with desire. It's like, I can't tell you, Christy, how many women tell me, I just want a man to hold me and tell me everything's going to be okay.
Yep.
That's all I want. Even the toughest women.
Yes. And we're going to come back to that. I want to ask you real quickly, because I feel like women struggle with this. We were talking beforehand for the listeners that don't know my story. So, I was all the way into my masculine energy. I was leading sales teams. I purposely chose this male dominated cutthroat. I mean, you couldn't get any more masculine in order to survive. And I unwound, where did that come from? Okay. Who do I want to be moving forward? And so for me, I would put on a dress. So it was like when I was down in the office, I'd go change into a dress and everything would I morphed into somebody different. I don't know how to salsa dance, but I gave myself this alter ego of a sexy salsa dancer. And as soon as I would say that, I was like, okay, here she comes.
Yep.
Do you enjoy that, going into the masculine and being in the boardroom for a minute? Cause I have to say, like, I love the yin and the yang. Like, I love being able to go there, but I love being able to put her back in the box too. Is that a bad thing to want to go there and to go there?
Absolutely not. So this is how I would describe it. It's a dance, right? You just mentioned salsa. It's very much like the dance, right? Or I relate it to the keys on a piano. And whatever note the melody calls for is whatever energy you get to move into at any given moment.
Yeah.
And even in the boardroom, there's times that, sometimes I come in, I step into that masculine energy, and also knowing that even in career, your feminine energy is very powerful. If I go into that boardroom and it's like this masculine energy, if I meet them again with that, it's going to depolarize even that business relationship, where I can come in my power still in that feminine energy and complement the relationship. And you create a totally different dynamic in it. But no, it's
so would you say that in all of your interactions, girlfriends, boardroom, are you always looking to be the opposite energy?
Well, I wouldn't say always. I mean, there is a form of sisterhood within that feminine energy, connecting in sisterhood. However, there's a dynamic everywhere. Like even with my kids. So my little 7-year-old, her name is JoJo, and she is like literally me at 7 years old. She's just like this bouncy, playful little thing. But when she doesn't feel safe, she becomes this little controlling, like tyrant, where she has to feel she needs to control. Because what happens is we as women, when we don't feel safe, we resort to creating our own safety.
Yeah.
So we get our shield, we get our sword, and we become this fear-based, I would differentiate fear-based masculine energy, where we're protecting ourselves, we're protecting everything around us. So we need to control the situation. Yeah. So to answer your question, yes and no, but it's not just solely this conscious aspect, because you can think of the masculine as consciousness, the feminine is subconscious, or from your heart space, from your body, and you just fluidly
feel it. Yeah. We'll come back to that too. So going back to what women need in terms of the emotional safety.
Yeah.
The safety to be themselves, to fall into somebody's arms, to express themselves sexually. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because there's so many women out there that can make their own money. And to your point, they just want the safety and the security of the man.
Yeah.
So maybe speak to the men for a minute.
Oh my gosh.
What do they need to provide?
Kings out there. I love speaking to our kings, because, honestly, what I would say to the men out there is, please do not underestimate the power of your masculinity. Like masculine energy, safe masculine energy is so powerful. I even have goosebumps as I say that, because it has changed my life, being in a relationship that is truly like experiencing healthy masculine energy, to where I even just have this big release and I sigh and I'm just like, okay, I feel safe now. It really is the emotional safety that the masculine provides to the feminine is so beautiful. Actually, the very first date that Henry and I went on, it's so funny. We were in a car, we were both in Las Vegas for work, and we were sitting there, and I had finally got to a point where I was living in the complete truth of who I was, like here I am, a single mom, 2 kids. I have this former relationship, that a gun was pulled on me, all of this stuff. And I just opened my heart to Henry. I have like snot running down my face, like so not cute. But anyway, I expressed it to him. And all he did was he looked at me and he said, well, as long as you're with me, you don't have to worry about a thing. I got you.
Mm.
And I literally, Christy, like fell into his arms, because it wasn't about anything other than creating safety for me in that moment, to see me, to
Yeah.
understand me,
Yeah.
to protect me in that moment. It wasn't about, oh, this person did this to you or that person did this to you. And oh my gosh, it was in that moment. And the awareness that our masculine kings have is so crucial. And the greatest tool that you have, like Henry knows, he knows when I'm like, feeling like in that like masculine energy, so he can help me, like help create more safety for me to soften back into that feminine.
What did it feel like for you to be able to be your true authentic self in that moment? It's
Oh
not
my
normal.
god, it's like you feel as though this weight is lifted off of your shoulders, like
Yeah.
you can breathe. It's something that you feel your chest has been compressed for so long, where now it's like, oh my gosh, I am allowed and giving myself permission to be truly authentically expressed in every aspect of my life,
Yeah.
embodied in the feminine, the full range and spectrum of the feminine. It's not just, this or that, it's and all of these things. I can be playful and fun, and I can be professional, and I can be, nurturing and compassionate. I can use my wisdom. I can be the huntress. It's
Mhm.
and I can be fully expressed in all of those aspects of my life. And that is really what the safety does, is to be completely expressed in your authentic version of yourself. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
I feel like to be the person that you're not is to waste the person that you are.
Yeah.
And, I always ask people, can you be the same person at work as you are at home, as you are with your kids, and of course, there's different pieces of that, as you said. And I know you have your archetypes, right? The 7
Yeah.
archetypes of the feminine energy. And it's not that you're being indifferent, you're just pulling out a different piece of who you are. And what
Yeah.
I'm finding is that people are so out of alignment. They don't even know who they are because they've put on so many masks of people pleasing. But
Mhm.
to be able to be in an environment at home and have that man just create an environment where you can be your true authentic self, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like that day, and it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. In the mess and
Yeah,
in the amazingness, it's, all of the
all of
things.
it.
The feminine is, like I said, it's chaos, but also being held and knowing, oh my gosh, I can express myself no matter what that looks like, and you're still here. You're
Yeah.
staying grounded for me. You're fighting for me. You're protecting me. That is power that, goodness, every woman wants. I always say, when it comes to relationships, if we only understood the dynamic of the masculine and feminine and understood trauma, relationships would look so much different. It
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. Mentioning trauma, can you talk a little bit about, I see another word that's out there a lot, and I always throw caution because there's a lot of people that are getting certifications and a lot of people that I
Yeah.
feel like there's a tendency to get stuck there. There's a
Yes.
tendency to, that is where, like, that's where the story begins and it ends. And,
Mhm.
can you talk about the bridge, right? So I think it's really important to understand where that came from and to make sure that that energy is not trapped. How do we move forward?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I love
Yeah.
that, because you're right. I mean, allowing yourself to stay stuck in that moment and in
Yeah.
that, that's what we would say is being in the emotion as opposed to with the
Okay.
emotion. You want to be with it, not in it. And
Mm.
so honoring it, validating it, because this is how I would describe it, is you think of a mother. We're going to give a story of like 3 different mothers. So a
Okay.
mother walks into a store and she has a toddler, and the toddler starts throwing a fit, right? And mom number 1 starts yelling at the toddler and is like, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that, and yelling, and oh my gosh, and grabs the toddler and goes out of the store. Do you think that that child is going to get quieter or louder and cry harder? It's going to cry harder, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so parent number 2 or mom number 2 comes in, same thing happens, toddler's throwing a tantrum, but this mother avoids and doesn't even
Mm.
acknowledge the child. Kind of goes around the corner like, that's not my kid. I'm not going to pay attention or, give attention to it, and is embarrassed, all the things. Do you think that child's going to get quieter or get louder? Because it's not seen, it's not heard, it's going to get louder. So she
Mhm.
takes that toddler out of the store. But the third mother, she comes in, the toddler throws a tantrum, and she gets down at eye level with the toddler and she says, I'm here, my darling. What do you need? I'm here.
Mm.
I got you. that's the type of compassion that we get to give ourselves and those parts and those
Mhm.
emotions. That is what's going to help us move forward as opposed to pushing them away. Because if I was to put my hand on that little toddler and push it away, that's not going to help anything. But being able to see it, to witness it, to acknowledge it, and knowing that that is a part of me, and loving it deeply and understanding
Yeah.
it, knowing that it's just been there trying to protect me,
Mhm.
it gives you this whole new view on life of like, oh my gosh, I've just had these parts of me trying to protect me this whole time. Thank you so much. You love
Yeah.
me that much. You're trying to protect me. And so that is really what is going to help you understand, like diving into parts work, I would say, really
Sure.
helps you understand that and move forward.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. I feel like the positive energy is
Yeah.
moving, the forward energy is so important.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
And also knowing this is such a misconception is that healing trauma doesn't have to be so heavy all the time.
yeah.
Actually, the biochemical opposite of trauma is play. So one
Yeah.
of the best
Yeah.
ways to heal trauma is through play, and that's
Yeah.
actually something from one of my mentors, Maston Kipp and Frank Anderson. Like the biochemical opposite, literally is play. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to be playful, and specifically women. I'm sure women listening to your podcast, Christy, there is a part of us that has pushed away our playfulness because at some point we were told that if we're playful, it's immature or unprofessional to be playful. And
Yeah.
I will tell you the most magnetic quality of the feminine is her playfulness.
I've done a lot of work, and I was in a relationship that I ended a few months ago. And I'm a very serious person when I have to be, but I am like the complete opposite
Yeah,
when I don't have to be. And he just did not like that. I was so goofy and the things that would come out of my mouth. But I love that. Like I love to just like turn the brain off and just I'm not thinking about the things I'm saying. And I thought, wow, I cannot be my full expression of who I am because I think that this is the best part. I really do. Like I was so tied into that for so many years, but this to me is where the beauty lies. And
I
when
love
I'm
it.
that way, it gives other people permission to do that too. Right. And so we all it's almost like we recharge our battery in another way
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
play. Yeah.
I love that so much. And that's true. It's the full expression. And it actually is when it's not received in that way, it's just a reflection of something within them as
Yeah.
opposed to you. Like you stepping into what's congruent to you and especially in playfulness, like that's beautiful. And that's power. I love
Yeah,
it.
and it's the things that you do when you're not thinking about it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just it was just that flow. And as we
Yeah.
talked about before, there was a moment in time for me that I was like, okay, who do I want to be? I don't
Yeah.
want to be this serious person. I still want to tap into her, but I don't want to be that. And so I didn't come this far to come this far. So either
Yeah.
you got to be cool with this or you got to go.
Yeah.
This isn't
I
the
love that, and
stage,
it's
right?
boundaries. Yeah, I love that. Henry and I talk a lot about non-negotiables, and we
Yeah.
have like we always tell people have your 5 non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And even in our experience, those that we dated back in our single days, those that we dated that only had 4 of our 5 non-negotiables are actually the ones that hurt us the most.
Mm.
And so knowing that playfulness, like honestly, like the feminine is playful and it's so you
Yeah.
cannot deny a woman who walks into a room who has just this radiant smile and energy and is playful and laughing. You can't deny that
She's got
energy.
the
So
whole room. She's
yeah.
got the whole room in her hand. So we talked about what the masculine needs to provide for the feminine
Yeah.
to be in her full, to feel safe and be in her full expression. What
Yeah.
does the feminine need to provide for the masculine to be
Ooh, such a good
his
question.
true self?
Yes, the needs of the masculine and feminine, which is so great. So I'm going to actually flip it and say
Okay.
what the masculine does not
Okay.
want or desire.
Yep.
That would depolarize your relationship is to be controlled, criticized, and have his partner closed off. Because
Mm.
the number one desire and need of the masculine is freedom to pursue his mission and purpose. Not freedom to just go do whatever he wants, but freedom to pursue his mission and purpose. And it's really funny. Henry and I, we were teaching at a festival in Montenegro, and it's outside in these tents, and we have this tent of like 200 people, and we're talking about masculine energy, and Henry's describing freedom, and he yells at the top of his lungs. He's like, freedom. And then far off in the distance, way far away, you hear another man yell back to him, freedom. And it just is a testament to the fact that freedom is such a desire
Yeah.
in that. As women, when we don't feel safe and we get into that masculine energy and we try to control, you can see how that depolarizes a relationship, right? So not controlling, not criticizing, and also not being closed off, like opening. The feminine is open when
Mm.
she is feels safe, which you can create that safety within yourself as well. But when she is open and
What does that look like when a woman is in her feminine and she's open? What would that look like?
Yeah, and it's so many different aspects. It's open in vulnerability, open in emotion, open to this is the truth of who I am, no matter the consequence.
Mm,
This is, because sometimes we tell the story of, oh, I need to be XYZ for someone to love me.
yeah.
Or no. What is truth to you? What is congruent to you? What is aligned? And operate in that truth and be open with that truth, no matter the consequence. Openness to also to receive, open to receive, even how not constructive criticism, but constructive criticism within the relationship. How do you
Mm,
receive the information? How do you also honor and validate his feelings when he steps into more of a feminine space, right?
yeah.
But being open to possibilities, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever that might be, but I am open to endless possibilities
Yeah.
in life, right? So it's really just having that open heart. I always tell Henry, my goal is to be so wide open to receive any and all that is to come to me, that I can filter it through the filter of love, is what I call it,
Mm,
to see what is in alignment and congruence with myself.
that's so powerful. Does the feminine test the masculine?
Oh my gosh, all the time.
And is that healthy?
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay, let's
It
talk
is
about that.
because the
Let's talk
feminine,
about that.
so yeah, well, and I would say that it's an unconscious test. So those of you listening know women are not like, oh, I'm going to purposely test him on this, It's the feminine unconsciously will always test the masculine to see if she's still safe.
Mm,
And again, it's not a malicious like testing or anything, but it's the number one need of the feminine is safety.
mm,
Is my protector still there? Is he going to come back and fight the lion for me? Or am I going to have to go fight the lion? Or has he
okay.
become the lion to me?
Yeah, yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of what that would look like? My hallucination is that there's some men that would think like, "Oh, of course you're safe." Like, I locked the
Yeah.
doors. I like literally like, I bought this house for you. I
Yeah.
protect you. I got you. But
Yeah.
what would that really look like? How is she
So,
really testing
yeah,
her safety with
practical.
him? Yeah.
Yep, practical. It could be as simple as he goes to take out the trash and she comes over and says, no, I got it. I'm going to take it.
Mm,
Right? Controlling the situation
yeah.
in that aspect. It could be as simple as that. Or he wants to give something or provide something and help her. And no, I got it. I'm fine. That's a very simple way to know.
Wow. I wouldn't have put those two together.
Yeah, it can be that simple where even Henry will ask me, because there's two different forms. Like there's the love-based masculine energy that we get to step into in career
Mhm.
and go and do, right? So Henry will ask me, he's like, hey babe, are you working? And if I say no, he knows. He's like, okay, she doesn't feel safe with something. There's
Mm,
something, within her where honestly, if he has a playlist on his phone that he knows there's a specific song and it's an anchor to me, that if he sees me in this masculine energy and I'm like doing cleaning,
get it.
constantly cleaning or something, and I feel like I have to get caught up in that and I can't just stop.
Yeah.
I'm just in the chaos. He'll play the song and I'm like, okay. And then I just like start bouncing and I'm playful again. And I'll tell him, I know what you're doing, but I love it anyway. So
Yeah, how could you not love him for that? And
yeah.
that was another question that I had for you. When your polarity is off, or you guys get off a little bit, how do you calibrate?
Oh gosh, there's so many things on this. One would be it depends on the level of the rupture, right?
Yeah.
So the very first thing that Henry and I did on our honeymoon was we decided to learn how to fight when we were regulated.
Mm.
Like learn how to fight because I
Okay, so
am different.
what does
Yeah.
regulated mean?
Let me ask you this. So you know what someone dysregulated probably looks like? Or have you ever seen a grown man throwing a tantrum like a
Yep.
9-year-old?
Yes.
Right? Dysregulated. Have you ever tried to reason with someone who's
Not
dysregulated?
the right moment. Not the right
Yeah.
moment.
How did it go? It
Yeah,
didn't go
not
good,
good,
right?
not good, not good.
Exactly. So when you're regulated, when you're joyful and you're in this state of like, oh my gosh, okay, we want to grow, we want to thrive. Let's figure out what we both need in a moment of rupture at beforehand, right? Pre-framing it
Mm.
in a way
Yeah.
of I am more of a processor. And there is a difference between processing and avoiding. Processing is I need a minute, I'm going to come back to it.
Yep.
Avoiding is I'm going to run away forever, right? Where Henry in that masculine spirit of his is like, I want to fix this right now. Like let's fix it now. There's a rupture. He knows that I need a moment and he needs to know that I'm going to come back. So
Mm.
deciding in advance is what we would call that of how we're going to repair that. And if it's simple and small, we both are so aware at this, when we're off in polarity, like you can feel it. You can feel there's
Yeah.
energy there. It takes responsibility within yourself. And it also takes a responsibility within the relationship. Who's going to step forward to break the cycle? We call it the fear
Mm.
cycle. So if you, like, for example, if I could draw on here, so like this is the top of this pyramid, right? That's polarization at the top. And let's say that she doesn't feel safe, so she becomes critical and controlling. Do you think that he's going to feel more connected to her or less connected to
Less
her?
connected.
Probably less. So he's going to come down to here, which, then maybe he becomes either avoidant, maybe he becomes a little bit more aggressive, of some sort of fear-based masculinity. Is she going to feel more safe or less safe?
Less safe.
Less safe. So she's down here. And you see the cycle going down. You
Yeah.
can see how once was polarized is depolarized. So it's going to take this conscious effort of who's going to break the cycle
Mm-hmm.
and deciding that in advance, and also deciding for yourself. And how do you want to show up for your partner? And we always say, help your partner win.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Help them
that. I
win in
love
advance.
that. Can you talk a little bit about women's intuition? Do you ever help women tap into their own intuition?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I love it. And
What
our,
would
and
you
our
say to them? Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so intuition to me, it's such a powerful, powerful gift. Some will say that women aren't more intuitive than men, we just are more sensitive to frequency. And so
Mm.
therefore we're more intuitive to certain things. And I know, we all know someone, like Henry trusts my intuition. Like he knows. If I feel something, I'll just kind of say it and I follow it.
Mhm.
And it always ends up being right. It's crazy. But the way that women can really tap into their intuition is even in our containers, I will have my queens, I'll have them take 3 hours in a day and I have them set it aside. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, you're going to take those 3 hours and you are strictly going to follow your intuition. And so
Mm.
maybe they start with a meditation, depending on your spiritual background. Maybe you start with a prayer, whatever it might be, of just, what am I supposed to receive today? What am I supposed to receive? So you'll start your day. The very first thing that comes to you, you go do it. No matter how crazy it might sound. Maybe it's you're supposed to go take this heels dance class that you wanted to go take. So you go to the heels dance class. Or maybe you're supposed to go to this coffee shop. Maybe you're walking down the street and you were going to turn right, but something told you to turn left and you follow it and you turn left. And Chrissy, I will tell you, every single time we've done this in a container, we've had the most magical, beautiful things happen. We've had women meet a partner and gotten into a relationship. Like they've something within their career. It's so neat when you allow yourself and give yourself permission to trust, like trust your body,
Yes.
trust the wisdom of your body. And what's really neat is, 80% of our emotional data comes from our body to our brain,
Mhm.
20% from our brain to our body. So when you listen to your body, when you listen to that intuition, that gut instinct of like, oh, I should go this way. Or maybe you have a prompting to call or text a friend.
Mhm.
Henry and I will always text them, no matter what it is. And we always get these texts back saying, oh my gosh, how did you know to reach out to me? Or how did you know to say that?
Yeah.
Just try it and see what happens. It's the most beautiful things will happen in
So
that.
what happens when the brain gets in the way? Is this childhood programming? Is this doubt? Like what is happening when we stop and think and change our mind?
Yeah, so many things. I mean, like we said, so the masculine is consciousness and logic and all these things that
Mm.
we were told growing up and the box that we're supposed to fit in, right? As women. We're supposed to
Yeah.
be this as women. Where my goal, like within the Queen Collective, is to remove that box, remove the chains, remove all of that to get to the truth of who you are and to tap into even more wisdom within yourself, to trust yourself. So many women, I mean, we're taught not to trust ourselves because we're chameleons. We look to others to tell us who we are from a very young age. Like they've even done studies. Little
Yeah.
boys, they'll play with tractors. They're very young. They're like, I'm a man, or I'm going to grow to be a man. I'm going to do these things. We're little girls,
We're
we are
waiting.
those chameleons. We look
Yeah.
to see, oh, cues of safety and danger. We all do, but we look to say,
Mm.
oh, I was praised for getting a good grade on this math test. Oh, I was praised for wearing this outfit and they told me I looked pretty. Oh, you
Mm.
receive this information and the world tells you who you are and we don't decide who we are first.
Wow. Wow. That is so profound. And it's interesting, as we were talking about before we get started. I feel like so many people, there's not one person that I've started to work with that's not in
Yeah.
alignment, and
Yeah.
myself included. And the scary part is I thought I was in alignment, and so
Yeah.
do they. Everybody feels
Yeah.
like they're in alignment. It's like, when did the mass start?
Yes.
And
Exactly.
who am I really? And my earliest memory of it was 9 years old.
Yeah.
But it had to have happened before that, because I knew what I needed to do in order to get love and acceptance. So
Yeah.
obviously it was happening before that, because I knew what behaviors I needed to switch and change in order to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we all have that curiosity of like, oh, well, what happened to me when I was younger that I
Yeah.
decided this thing, where we're not always going to consciously know. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But it's whatever the feeling and the emotion behind it represents is what
Yep.
matters. That's
Yep.
what matters to be able to address the part, because we can make decisions about ourselves at such a young age for even things that were positively intended for us, but make a
Mhm.
negative belief about ourselves.
Yes.
And so it's
That is
really,
really that's really powerful there, the feeling.
yeah,
Pay
yeah,
attention to the feeling.
feeling
Yeah.
of it. And it's also, what decisions did you make about yourself with your first experience with feminine energy, or what you perceived to be feminine
Yeah.
energy? What
Yeah.
was your first experience with masculine energy, and what did you perceive it as? Did you perceive it as safe or scary? Right?
Mm.
Was the feminine energy, maybe those who had a single mom growing up, and they thought that's what feminine energy was, but because she had to operate in such a masculine state, maybe they interpreted that as, oh, I'm supposed to be in my masculine all the time. I have to hunt,
Yes.
fight constantly. So there's so much that to unravel there, but that's part of it as well.
Yeah, but such a great starting point for people that
Yeah.
haven't been exposed to this at this level
Yeah.
of depth. I mean, I think we've covered quite a bit, even though I know you could go, like you said,
I know. I'm like,
for 7 more days. So, can you talk a little bit about this? Is another thing that I see. I coach executives and entrepreneurs, and I coach men in the business world. It's ironically how that, but the other side is all women. When I see this misalignment, and everything comes back to people pleasing.
mhm.
Are we more prone to people please, or is the feminine energy more prone to people please than the masculine energy?
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing is something to know, even just about women in general, is,
Yeah.
and this is taking kind of a shift to describe it, but 1 in 4 women will experience some form of abuse in their life. And from that, women are actually 50% more likely to experience some sort of mental health issues after that abuse, whether it's emotional, mental, sexual, physical. So the feminine and women were very much prone to, those cues of safety and danger, and then
Mhm.
making decisions about ourselves from that
Got it.
experience.
Yeah.
And so yes, women are, I mean, so many are prone to the people pleasing. It's probably one of the biggest topics within the Queen Collective, because again, we made it at some point, a belief was made that my value is tied to making sure everyone else is happy around me. Boundaries for myself were not a priority. I wasn't allowed to say
Mhm.
no. Even so, I'll even give an example. So my girls, I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. I will never force them to hug or kiss or anything with someone else if they don't want to.
Mhm.
Because if their little energetic bodies are saying, no, that doesn't feel safe to me, I will not force them to do something. Because if I did, that would be telling them, nope, you need to set aside your own feelings
Mhm.
and make sure that they're happy, not yourself.
Yeah.
So it can be as simple as that.
Yeah. And I love that you do that. What is your wish for your daughters? If there's one wish you had for them?
Oh my goodness. My one wish for them is to, actually, I tell them this all the time, is to truly, deeply love themselves.
Yes.
Because, I mean, just in the work that I do, it's amazing to see the lack of love that we give ourselves,
Yeah.
that women give themselves, that it's so hard to really look in that mirror and say, I love you. Right.
Mhm.
And so I really, truly just want them to love who they are, who they're being, regardless of how they look externally or what they're doing in the world, is to love who they're being and to exude love into the world.
Yes. Yes. I think if there's one word that embodies you and Henry, it's love.
Oh, thank you. They said that's what it all comes back to, right? Is love.
It
Yeah.
really does. It really does. You think like it's almost like the circle of life. It's like achievement and the car and then this, and
Yeah.
then it's like, no, happiness and joy and love. Like, no, this is really where it is. It's these feelings and
Yeah.
the acceptance. Tell me a little bit about the website that you and Henry have and the business
Oh yeah, so
together.
Henry and I, it's actually a very divine story. It's so wild, but we just launched masculineandfeminine.com.
Yes.
And even getting that domain today, is wild. Like last year, we, again, no matter your beliefs, whether you believe in God, universe, whatever, to us it's God. Last year we had this prompting of like, you need to get masculineandfeminine.com. And so we went to see if it was available, and it was available, not even
Crazy.
for like,
Crazy.
just for like $1. And we're like, how
So
on
cool.
earth is that available? Especially,
Mm.
this is the work that we do. And we're just so passionate about just love in general and spreading love in the world. And truly, our relationships are the most valuable asset in our life. And
Yes.
so masculinefeminine.com is a space where it really is focused on relationships and love dynamics, masculine feminine energetics, trauma, healing, in that healing in relationship, because Henry and I, we do work with couples one-on-one within containers, and we're going to be doing experiences as well. And
Mm.
whether it's virtual, in person, I'm very big on embodiment and getting into the
Yeah.
feeling of it, because, you and I, Chrissy, can talk about feminine energy all day long, but until you feel it and
Mhm.
you feel and experience what feminine energy is, it's hard to embody. So that's really what masculinefeminine.com is going to be. And we just launched it and are starting our master classes. And so, yeah, we're really excited about it.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more with you. Once you feel it, you can't unfeel it.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't, I, you know the words better than I do, but is that stored in the nervous system? I mean, you can go there and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what this is
Yeah.
supposed to be like. I know
Yeah.
her. I know him. I know where
Hmm.
I'm supposed to go.
Yeah. Feels so good. What's neat is to know that you're safe to be all of that. You're
Yes.
safe to step into all of that.
Yes. Do you have any retreats coming up?
We are actually, interestingly enough, this next week, we are planning all of our dates for next year. We're going to have a Hawaii retreat for couples and individuals as well. And then we'll be doing events in Utah, northern Utah as well.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all those dates will be solidified next week. It's going to be,
Oh,
and we're also launching a podcast and all of that stuff. So
yeah. Well, I just have to thank you so much for the work that you do. I'm telling you, the amount of free content and education you put out there. I can just tell a space what space somebody's in by the amount of information that they're willing. Like you too really want to help people. It's on your heart to really serve, and I see that. I just wanted to acknowledge you for doing that.
thank you, Chrissy. That means so much. We're trying to do our little part in the world, and I'm so grateful for you even inviting me here to spread even more of that. We
Yes,
just
it is my pleasure. Where would you like people to go? You got a lot going on. Is it
Yes, we have so much going
masculinefeminine.com,
on.
or where can they go to learn more about everything that you have?
Instagram is the best place for especially my queens looking to embody the feminine or tap into healing and all of that stuff. So the Queen Collective with a K. So the Queen and then K for collective on Instagram. And then masculinefeminine.com is where you can find all of our juicy new materials going forward in relationships and masculine feminine dynamics and passion and intimacy and all of that stuff. So those are the two best places.
Can you talk real quick about your free, is it
Yes.
the 7 archetypes of the feminine?
Oh, free guide. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially after this podcast, we're talking about all these different parts of ourselves. So I teach the 7 feminine archetypes, which really is just helping us. It's a lens to look through different parts that we access within our psyche, the different,
Mm.
the playful part, the sexy part, the wisdom within us. And so it's a free guide that is on my Instagram. If you just click on the link in the bio, you can download it for free, and it'll give you the love-based aspect of the feminine archetypes, also knowing that there is a fear-based side as well, so you can know how you've been operating, but we dive
Mhm.
into that within our containers and whatnot, and also on the social media as well.
Yeah, that was really important for me to bring up because I caught what you said in the beginning, and it's
And
and, right? You can
yeah,
be all of these things. This is all a
yeah,
part of who you are. You don't have to be just one sliver of that.
exactly.
And
It
I
is.
I really love that. I can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Christy. You're amazing.
We will end this, but we will see more of you. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you so much.